Well, we are live, and I kind of like the black background. Uh, wow. Well, this is July 4th, 2023, and we are live in beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. Let me adjust the lamp. Oh well, this is Independence Day. I'm wearing my dentures because I wanted to eat celery and pumpkin seeds. I'm a happy camper. But my dentures need a little adjustment. I can't quite close my mouth when I'm wearing them. Oops, that one's dead. Okay. Well, Independence Day. Independence from what? Well, no more COVID lockdowns. But are we really free, or are we stuck in the matrix? Ukraine. And frankly, our soldiers are fighting in places that you never heard of. And they aren't exactly wars, they're what they call police actions. Covert operations. Hard. We've been stuck in other countries' problems for quite some time, beginning at least as early as LBJ. President Lyndon Baines Johnson, who came to power after somebody shot President Kennedy and killed him. At that time, early 1960s, black men, they had a choice: become a criminal or get your baby mama to share her welfare with you, which is illegal, or join the military. And how many ended up on Hamburger Hill? How many young black men died for this country in a pointless war that basically we had won it, and then we left? Johnson, by the way, Lyndon Baines Johnson, was a Democrat. And even most of the Democrats did not like him or trust him. And he made a mess of the Vietnam War. And then the Republican Richard M. Nixon took over and began withdrawing in an orderly fashion from Vietnam. So they Watergated him. Now, I'm not saying he was innocent, but Nixon did not order or even know about the break-in at the Democratic headquarters until after it happened. His mistake, his crime, was covering it up. He should have been honest with the American people. He should have been transparent. But he did have the good grace to step down when all those impeachment hearings country apart. But then we were still in Vietnam, and his successor, Gerald Ford, made an awful mess of the withdrawal from Vietnam, leaving behind people who were certain to face death and probably torture first, then death, because they helped us. Leaving behind dogs, they got classified as equipment. These dogs that were helping our soldiers in a country where they eat dogs. Now, I'm not judging their diet. I mean, we eat cows and sheep and pigs, most of us, and chickens, but a highly trained dog that saved your life in combat should not be left behind. It is not equipment. The American Embassy, when the last helicopter left. Now, then we had the boat people, those who managed to escape and managed to get on a boat and didn't drown, came to the United States. I went to the junior college with some of them. Very bright people, very educated and having trouble with English. One of those boat people tutored me when I was trying to learn French. Her French was great. In English, it was a matter of pronouncing, especially the letter R. And I didn't know how to explain it. Well, anyway, that's why I voted for Jimmy Carter, because his opponent was Gerald Ford, who made such a mess of our evacuation from Vietnam. And besides that, he was on the Warren Commission that ruled that a magic bullet killed President Kennedy and injured Governor Connolly. Hi, Don Burnham. Hello. Let me type in the chat. Thought I'd do a special tonight. I might not have a good internet connection in the morning. Verizon has been basically shutting it down for me every morning between 8 and 9 o'clock. Maybe now that the holidays are over, maybe tomorrow morning I'll actually have an internet connection. But for 5 days I've been going through no internet. I mean, I was listening to AM radio because I couldn't even get my email. Oh, anyway, dentures on, eating celery and pumpkin seeds. Can't do that without my dentures. Well, I could put the celery through the food processor, but it isn't the same without that texture. And then, well, after Jimmy Carter, a very nice man, a good man, but not a good president. I think Jimmy Carter was sabotaged. Yes, I'd love to get peanut butter, Dawn, but I suddenly have a severe peanut allergy. Never had that problem before, but I do have cream cheese for my celery. And I can eat other nuts like walnuts and pecans. I never had a problem with peanuts before. I hope this doesn't extend to things like green peas, kidney beans, and other legumes. I love peanut butter. It tastes so good, but last time I ate it, I actually passed out or fell asleep. I'm not sure which, but I was suddenly dizzy and weak and extremely cold. So I got my little wrist thing and checked my blood pressure, and it was crashing. But since it didn't go below 90/60, or it didn't stay there, I should say, it came back up to 90/60, I decided not to call 911. But then I either passed out or fell asleep. The worst of it was feeling icy cold inside and out. Never had anything like severe penicillin reaction. I was dizzy and weak and itchy, but I wasn't cold. Of course, it was a hot day. We've had a couple days of pretty good sunshine and heat here finally. That'll reduce my energy bills because I don't use air conditioning, just the ceiling fan. We claim that we don't need it up here on the mountain, but it has been known to get up to 90 degrees. Yesterday it was 85. Today it was only. I have to do something real quick with the ceiling fan. Turn it down to low because it feels cool. It's about 70 degrees. Not bad. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a stream tonight either, Dawn, but just in case I can get on in the morning. And because it is Independence Day, you've been hot there as well. Oh, bored myself. I'm frustrated because there's a lot of fun things I want to do, but I can't. I don't have the energy or the strength. Let me get this. Ah, gotta smoke. I can't really eat and talk, so my coffee. Well, anyway, let's see. Jimmy Carter was the biggest thing that got him defeated when he ran for a second term. And we got Ronald Reagan. I know people like him. He did a lot of good, but Reaganomics really screwed me over. First, I was in line. It was a sure thing that I'd been working at the Life Sciences Laboratory at the junior college. Oh, and thank you, Don, for having a smoke with me. Well, I was promised I would become the assistant director. 13 passed in California. People who'd owned their homes for 20, 30 years were unable to pay the skyrocketing property taxes. Even for $10,000 and suddenly thousands a year. People on fixed incomes, pensions, and Social Security were losing their homes to punish us. by eliminating but people's jobs. So the position I was promised had to be eliminated. The job no longer existed. College, the junior college, where I was still working part time, but I could also get grants. So I got my degree in public relations and Reaganomics. Caused most businesses to make cuts in public relations and marketing. So there weren't any jobs for me. So then I went back and got a master's degree in English literature because I had fallen in love with literature from some of the classes I taken along the way, and ended up teaching English. And even though the jobs existed, they traffic controllers. He could have had they could not go on strike. But really, from ever working at dawn, it looks fine on my end. Friends, come on, don't fight me. You gotta say hello. Yeah, see, a kitty in this TV screen. Sometimes when a card game on and me so I can read your treats, has to get paid for her appearance on the show. Okay, I'm typing. Uh, okay. Let's fiddle with the camera again. So anyway, who came after Reagan? George H.W. Bush, former director of the CIA. I tried to warn people not to put a CIA man in the White House. After a couple decades of George H.W. Bush started war in Iraq. Well, no wonder he didn't get to talk about politics. Gosh, Tora, get off my chair. She gets up behind me. More treat. Hi. I love Great Granny's rocking chair. You're flying. Yes. Pointing it toward the screen instead of the camera. Up, down. You know, cats do not live by treats alone. And where were we? Oh, Clinton for 2 terms. Bill Clinton. I still remember the cartoons, the political cartoons. under Hillary Care, the proposed health care for all. Oh, cat hair all over me. The cartoon was captioned "Cat Scan." The doctor was holding a cat and moving back and forth over. I can't say that we were ever not at war somewhere, but there was some trouble with Iran. George of the CIA man. In September, cat wasn't Iraq. They didn't want to point out that a number of the hijackers were Saudi Arabia. Shh, don't talk about that. And then we got Obama. I don't think he got us into it. And then we got Donald Trump, and now we have Biden. Entertaining. Let's see. Don says the only presidents he loved are Nixon, FDR, and Lincoln. FDR, he died, and Truman took over. Now the thing is, he's the reason why they now limit presidents to. There have been several celery bowls who I could totally see becoming president till they died, just like FDR. But let's not talk about them. This is our day to celebrate our independence from England back in 1776. Wow. Well, one of my British friends posted on Facebook, Facebook friend posted, yeah, we were too busy dealing with Mad King George to worry about an upstart colony. Hi, Dreaded. Got another chatter. Oh, wow. No, I'm not going to stop smoking. I'm 69 years old. It's too late. Besides, everybody I know who stopped smoking got cancer as soon as they stopped. Yeah, well, England, when they couldn't defeat us in the War of 1812, they decided to try to bury us economically by financing both sides in our Civil War. And it isn't really England, it's the Bank of England, which is really, cat hair all over me, Rothschilds. And by the way, the Rothschilds are not Jewish. They only say they're Jewish when they get some benefit from it. Oh, it's Freeman. Okay. Smoking Dawn says, is not bad unless one smokes too much or thinks it's bad. Well, I smoke too much while I'm on live on YouTube. The rest of the time, not so much. I'm too busy whacking weeds and planting tomatoes. This year, first it was too cold to start the seeds. Then it was too hot to start the seeds. I've got hiccups now. That happens when you're eating celery. Then it was too late to start the seeds, so I bought some that are tomato plants about this tall, 6 or 8 inches. Let's see, in centimeters, it's probably 12. I'm not that good at metric measures, but a centimeter is a little more than half an inch. Well, Don, when I smoke, I really can't because it'll give me a huge coughing fit. All right, I got you, Don. You smoke tobacco. Oh, me too. Don't care for weed. I don't need drugs to make me loopy. I can meditate or daydream. That's another thing that's difficult with my dentures on, lighting a cigarette. Because my lips won't come together because my mouth has changed and the dentures prevent my lips from really coming together. So anyway, I got too many boulders under my dentures anyway, so let me real quick remove them and I'll be more comfortable. It'll only take a second, well, a minute maybe. I'll be right back. Spaghetti. I'm coming back. You see, as an old lady, when I run the water because the dents have to be in water and not get dry. You know what happens when an old lady runs the water? It happens every time I wash dishes. I have to pee. Okay, did I watch fireworks tonight? Well, we had our fireworks on Saturday. We celebrate on the closest Saturday to the 4th. And they were awesome. But first, that morning, we had our small town parade. It was also awesome and lasted about twice as long as in ordinary years. You see, we were celebrating partly that COVID is officially over, but mostly that we survived Snowmageddon. At the end of February and into most of March, it just snowed and snowed and snowed. I was lucky. My snow was between 6 and 8 feet tall, except where the skip loaders piled up the snow from the road onto my driveway, where it was about 12 feet. But the snow that fell at my house was between 6 and 8 feet high or deep. Some people had 12 feet or more. People with 2-story houses could step out of their upstairs balcony. They could not get out from the ground floor. Just really amazing. But we survived. And we came together as a community and helped each other. So our new motto is Mountain Strong. And we have all kinds of people up here. If you want to see integration, come to this small mountain community. We have immigrants from all over Eastern Europe, Asia, South America, Mexico, some transplanted Brits, British, everything, and all kinds of skin tones. All kinds of ethnic groups. I've got a neighbor who's black. I've got a neighbor who's Jewish. I think he's a secular Jew, he says. I had a really interesting conversation while I was working the Lions yard sale with a man who came here from Hungary. Don, I'd like to travel too. You eat snow for breakfast, huh? Okay. Tora, it's your fault. I got your cat hair all over my face. Oh well. And of course, we have all varieties of what they call Hispanic, although some of them don't like to be called Hispanic, especially if they're Italian. Now I got itchies too. It's your fault, Tora. I blame everything on the cat. Yeah, she's a pretty girl. Sweetie disappeared. I think it's been about 2 weeks now. She went out one morning and never came back. She was 16 years old, so I really don't think I'll see her again. Little black tuxedo kitty. Well, Don has never been farther than Louisville, Kentucky, but where are you now? I mean, I'm California born and raised. Oh, Don is Italian. Well, anyway, I've The farthest east I've been is Denver. You changed your last name, huh? Okay. Well, anyway, let's see. What was I talking about, Tora? You made me forget. Oh, poor sweetie, I miss her. Pennsylvania. Yeah, I've been farther than you then. I've been all the way north to Seattle, Tacoma. All I saw were the airport and the hotel. Although we did go across the street once to a convenience store because the hotel food was too expensive. Oh, your grandfather changed it. Okay. Give it up, Freeman. I smoke. I've been smoking for 45 years, more or less. Ain't gonna quit. You have no idea. Mom had me on tranquilizers for a couple of years. When the doctor told me I shouldn't take them, I just quit. I was a little shaky for a couple hours and then I was fine. When I had Vicodin for my broken leg after a couple of days, I think 3 days, I realized I was having withdrawals between doses, rid of them. And yeah, I felt a little fluish for a couple of days, but not a big deal. Cigarettes and coffee? Forget it. Not giving up either one of them. Now, most alcoholics smoke. It seems that smoking a cigarette goes with your alcohol, which makes it really, really mean that, well, at least in California, I'm not sure about other states, you can't smoke inside a bar. So all the bars began having outdoor patios so people could smoke. Because you don't want to have your drink and then go out and smoke. And you don't want to leave your drink while you're out smoking. And you can't take it out of the bar. You're not allowed to, the drink. Well, the occasional busybody, non-smoker, will deliberately go out to the outdoor patio and complain about the cigarette smoke. Oh, don't go there if you don't like the smoke. I haven't read the rest of your story, Freeman, and I'm not sure whether it's a memoir or a fantasy. It reads like a memoir. It is interesting, but life gets in the way. Oh, yeah. Well, as far as alcohol goes, I'm a binge drinker. I can have a glass of wine with dinner or even a cocktail or an ounce of brandy. But if I have two, I'll have six. So I quit drinking. And when I do have, on occasion, have a glass of wine with dinner, I have one. There's something about a nice glass of Pinot Noir with a restaurant dinner, as long as I'm not driving. Ah, You need good books to read, Dawn? You can always read some of my books. Did you know that I wrote a murder mystery? I keep trying to finish the second. It's supposed to be a series. Let me find the book. See if I can sneak it out without dropping something. There, here. Murder Lies. In telling lies. The murder takes place in Denver. See, a Lavinia Stout mystery. The second one will be Murder Bleeds. Okay, good books to read. Depends on whether you want fiction or nonfiction. You can always check out. Well, thank you about the cover. I made it myself. Oh, by the way, my detective who investigates the murder lives in Twin Peaks with her cat. Good books. Walter Bosley has some adventure fiction as well as nonfiction. I'm trying to remember the name of his website. Well, you can find him on Amazon. I'll type it in the chat room. Walter Bosley, Bosley. Dawn is talking to me. Yeah, you're not blocked, Freeman. Let's see. Other good books. Fiction, huh? Well, anyway, Walter Bosley's adventure fiction is really a guy thing. Although I'd probably enjoy them too. When I read Tarzan, who was the author? Well, anyway, I really enjoyed it. It was Tarzan of the Apes, early 20th century adventure, man who's raised by gorillas. Let's see. Other books, fiction. Now, if you want something, well, anything by Philip K. Dick. My surrealist novel, The Darkening of the Light. The Darkening of the Light. It's the title comes from hexagram 36 in the I Ching. It's very surreal, but it does kind of explore Mozart's The Magic Flute and Dante's Divine Comedy in a dream world. I can't think. I don't have. I haven't read a lot of contemporary fiction. Mostly nonfiction. Freeman almost married a British girl. Okay. You read Humpty Dumpty in Oakland and Galactic Pot Healer. Oh, those are your favorites? I really like The Man Whose Teeth Were All Exactly Alike, one of Philip K. Dick's mainstream novels. I really enjoyed that one. Oh, Ursula K. Le Guin, Lathe of Heaven, yeah. There were 2 movies made of it. I liked the PBS one. Yeah. I also read, because Phil made me read it, well, he ordered me to read it, The Other Side of Darkness. I think that was the title. By Ursula K. Le Guin. It was a very good novel. These humans on another planet with humanoid inhabitants are learning about this alien culture. Yeah. Yeah, the second movie of Lathe of Heaven was not as good, but not bad. You want to write like John Steinbeck? Oh, okay. When it became known that Phil's novel was being made into the movie Blade Runner, Ursula Le Guin sent him flowers. They went to the same high school, but at different times and never met while they were there. And it's funny because Phil was a flaming liberal, but Ursula Le Guin was too liberal for him. And, well, Dawn, your journal writing is your own voice, and don't try to cat hair. Don't try to use someone else's voice. Use your own. I tend to be liberal, but I don't know. I don't like either major political party. They're all Republicans and Demoblicans. But in many ways, I agree with conservatives. James Joyce, yes. But if you wrote like James Joyce, you probably wouldn't get published today. Yeah, Ulysses. Yeah, I was reading Ulysses for a class I was taking in college, and I got this craving for steak and kidney pie. Because the way that he described his breakfast of fried kidney. What's my books called? Well, there's The Darkening of the Light and Murder Lies. Those are fiction. The others are mostly memoirs. I have a cookbook, uh, cooking, a cookbook for the Kitchen Challenged by the Kitchen Challenged. It's a very thin book and cheap. Oh, Don, are you asking what Freeman's book is called? I forgot what it's called. But he sent me the I think it's PDF, and I'm reading it. Let's see, what else have I written? Philip K. Dick, Remembering Firebright. Blade Runner creator Philip K. Dick. Conversations with Philip K. Dick. And a memoir about my own life called My Life on the Edge of Reality. And by the way, Freeman, you can publish on Amazon. It's easy. They take you through it step by step. You do need to go through. So far, your book is really good the way it is. Oh, and it doesn't cost you anything to publish on Amazon. And there are little extras you could pay for, but you don't have to. Oh, I don't know. Some people have bad experiences with Amazon, but it's worked out fine for me. I'm not getting rich. I make maybe $25 a month on all of my books put together, but I haven't written a new one in ages, so it's like, hey, one time Phil got a royalty check for, I think it was 23 cents, and he cashed it. He needed the money. Yeah. Well, shoot. We're stuck in the matrix, no doubt about it. If this is the real world, I don't, I want a false world. It's crazy. We're on the edge of a real war. Putin is talking about nuclear weapons. And what's our response? We keep sending weapons to Ukraine and pressuring Europe to send more weapons. Our politicians say we must support Ukraine, but we seem to be leaving Taiwan pretty much on their own. We have stationed some troops there. You see, Taiwan is not Chinese. Fewer than 1% of the people are ethnic Chinese. They are Japanese and Pacific Native Islanders. It was a Japanese colony, and its name was Formosa because the Portuguese also colonized it, that island. And that's what the Portuguese called it. I think it means beautiful. Let's see, let me check. Translate English to Portuguese to English. Yeah, it means beautiful. Yes, Don, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm blanking on the character's name, but the movie is Network. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed talking to me. I enjoy communicating with all of my chatters. And it's good to have the two of you tonight. It's getting chilly. It's actually kind of cold. Huh. We need to come together. The powers that be keep finding excuses to divide us so that we're too busy fighting each other to throw off our shackles. Howard, the character in Network. Howard, let me grab a sweater. Just my light cotton sweater. It isn't cold, but it's kind of not warm. Oh, come on. Where's the top of this thing? Oh, that's the bottom. Okay. Aha! Got it. All right. Cigarettes over coffee. Typical Canadian breakfast, huh? If you say so. Oh, Don is out of beer, so he'll have to drink water. Okay. Network, IMDb. Howard Beale. Yeah, well, as long as you aren't drinking Bud Light. In some stores, bottled water costs more than Bud Light. Now, I don't have a problem with the LGB whatever, but the spokesperson, the influencer they chose, her, I think it's her or their audience don't want to mispronounce someone, but that person's audience is primarily teenagers who are not old enough to buy beer. That's my problem with it. Make America great again, repeal the revolution. Hi, Oswald. Um, well, I don't care whether you drink beer. I don't drink any kind of beer. Um, just don't, it won't stay down. Um, if they just chosen someone whose audience was adults and not children, they wouldn't have as much flack. Well, Oswald, being late is understandable because this is not my regular time slot. You watch some fireworks. Good. We had our fireworks on Saturday. Hang on. What, Tora? I've been whacking weeds today, and those weeds really kick up allergies in me. Don drinks Guinness and Yingling. Okay. I even tried some fancy um, beers like craft beers and imported beers. I just can't drink them. Something, I think it's the hops. Tora, all right, come say hi to your adoring fans. If you want treats, you have to say hi. Oh, now I have cat hair on my face again. More cat hair. That's just what I needed. Oh, you're big and heavy. You're a big girl. You're huge. Hop down. Ah, Lord. Yeah, I got your treats. There you go. Okay. Cat hair. Ugh. At least I'm not allergic to cats. Not that I know of. Okay. Don likes simple beers mostly. Gonna give up drinking soon and do fruit and veggie diet. Okay. Oh, our local grocery store, which can't open because their roof collapsed in Snowmageddon, has been uh, holding little pop ups in town. And I got something I thought I'd never get because it used to be grown only in Costa Rica and maybe some Pacific Islands. It's called mangosteen. Let me grab one. They actually had mangosteen. Grown in Mexico. We get a lot of our fresh fruits from Mexico now because Governor Badsum, or Oldsom, Newsom, is killing our local farms in California. Have I tried any Founders beers? I'm not sure what that is, Oswald. But here's a mangosteen. The rind is very tough, like it's kind of like an orange, but much tougher and drier. And they say to just squeeze it until it pops open. So I think this one isn't ready yet. It isn't popping open. But inside there's this white creamy stuff you eat, but do not eat the seeds. It's an amazing little fruit. And here I go pointing it at the screen instead of the camera. It's got a sort of a flower-shaped thing on the bottom and a flower-shaped thing on the top. Well, when it gets ripe, I'll try it. Oswald says, Founders Brewery headquartered in Beer City, USA, your hometown. Milwaukee? IPA. I finally learned what IPA is. India Pale Ale. And Old Dirty... Oh. Two of their most popular brews. All Day IPA and Old Dirty Child Whose Father Didn't Marry His Mother. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Oh, God. First city in the country to fluoridate their water supply. So is their beer made with fluoridated water? Well, anyway, let's put this up. You know, in Europe, they consider our American beer basically colored water. Their beer is more like what we call stout. Well, you know, no matter how much I like a beer, if it won't stay down, I'm not having it. Tora, knock it off. You had plenty of treats. Leave me alone. She's kind of confused because this is not the regular time for me to be on YouTube. Yes, I'm smoking too much. I always do when I'm podcasting. Oh, on July 21, a Friday, I will be on with Solaris Blue Raven for 2 hours. I think it starts at 10 p.m. Pacific time. It's either 9 or 10, I forgot. I'll announce it again or post on Facebook or something. Look out, Tora. Get out of my stuff. You don't even want that. You don't eat pumpkin seeds. And quit walking on my phone. You know what she's taken to doing? I'll be watching YouTube on my tablet device. To save the internet for things like YouTube. And she'll paw at it and she switches to a different video. I think she knows what she's doing. Okay. Potato vodka, ha ha ha, Don says. Well, you know, finally, the rules and regulations were changed. For decades, vodka has been totally flavorless. it was the law. They had to take the flavor out. I don't know why. But now, vodkas with different flavors are appearing. And I don't mean added flavor, I mean you can taste the grain it was made from. It can be made from rye or wheat or potatoes, which is traditional. Freeman, I don't think your posts are disappearing. I'm not disappearing them. If you used a bad word, then YouTube is doing it. But I don't see any indications. It would say post deleted or something like that. And it doesn't say that. Oh, man. Oh, Oswald says we celebrate Codependence Day in my family. Yeah, well, you don't want me to talk about my family. Just look in the dictionary under dysfunctional. You'll see a picture of my family. Okay, this just can't be real. My weed whacker is a gift from heaven because I couldn't pull that many weeds. My yard goes back 150 feet and it's 45 feet wide, and my tiny house just covers 400 square feet. So there's a lot of weeds. I try to pull as many as I can because they're less likely to grow back, and even if they do, they'll grow back much more slowly. I don't recall watching fireworks with Phil. I think we just saw them on TV. Phil didn't get out much. He had phobias. So I kind of caught some of them. Like he'd suddenly be afraid to talk on the phone. No rational reason. It was just a phobia. And sometimes he couldn't walk just 2 doors down from our house to the mailbox to mail a letter. When we were in the apartments, the mailboxes were down in the courtyard. It wasn't even 2 doors down, it was just down the stairs and across about 6 feet. He'd send me to get the mail because he just couldn't do it, couldn't leave the apartment. I think Oswald's talking about the Creator, the best thing in nature for sinking your sorrows and raising your joys. Stick to the creature or okay. Okay, I don't know what crater is and I don't know what protein is. Let me see. Protein is a beverage. So crater is Poitin, beverage. Okay. Irish liquor. Ah, it does sound like an Irish word. Okay. And it can be spelled poteen or poitin, either way. Ah, cat hair. It's your fault, Tora. Well, anyway. You know, if you know, if the government of a nation is unpopular or losing power, one of the strategies they use is to start a foreign war, because internal enemies will forget their differences when faced with an outside enemy. Oh, and by the way, I'm tired of hearing these so called experts talk about how incredibly violent the 20th century was. You know, we had 2 world wars and Vietnam. Oh, and Korea. Forgot Korea. 2 world wars, Korea and Vietnam, and then more of a skirmish in Iraq. The 19th century, that is the 1800s, we had the Napoleonic Wars of England against France, the War of 1812, in which England tried to take back America. It's more complicated than that. The Crimean War, in which Russia fought against the Ottoman Empire, plus France and England, who somehow became allies of the Ottoman Turks. That war was over Ukraine and Crimea. And even though Russia was winning, when England and France got involved, they managed to force Russia to give Ukraine back to the Ottoman Turks, but Russia got to keep Crimea. Russia needed that warm water port in Sebastopol in Crimea. They still need it, especially since Romania joined NATO, so they no longer have their port on the Black Sea in Romania. Okay, so let's start over. Napoleonic Wars, War of 1812, Crimean War, and then the American Civil War, in which both sides were financed by England in hopes that we destroy ourselves and become once more a British colony. And then we had the Spanish American War, in which we freed a number of places from domination by Spain. And somewhere in all of that, we had the little kerfuffle with Mexico, in which Texas became an American state, and the Mormons in Utah were breathing a sigh of relief and giving up, multiple marriage in order to become an American state because they were terrified of the Mexican army. I think that was right before our Civil War. I don't know. Anyway, We won the war against Mexico and then paid them for all the land that we won, including land that was never theirs to begin with. California was a Spanish colony, not a Mexican state. And the Mexican army managed to occupy California for about 20 years. That doesn't make it part of Mexico. In fact, they should give back Baja to us. They won't, and we won't make a fuss about it, but they should. Cabo San Lucas could be a California uh, resort instead of a Mexico resort. Well, anyway, the 1800s were just as bloody as the 1900s, if not more so. I can't make that out, Don. Inisherin? The Banshees of Inisherin. It's a movie. And the line from that movie is, I pay no attention to wars, I'm against them. Wars and soap. Soap? Okay. Well, you wouldn't want to live in Mexico right now, Don. The drug cartels have pretty much taken over. Even the Mexican army is afraid of them. Oh, I never heard of Cormac McCarthy. I've read some poetry by an Irishman, Galway Kinnell. He was a guest speaker at the college I attended one time. Oh, cat hair. Cat hair. You can probably tell that my podcasts are not professional. I don't have a producer, don't have a lot of tech, just a cat. Now, of course, I've read part of Finnegan's Wake and most of Ulysses. I don't recall finishing it. I might have, but I'll tell you a typical term, that's what they called semesters at Chapman College. In a typical term, I'd have to read 6 novels for one class, and I was taking 4 classes. So, Cormac McCarthy, huh? I don't know. By the way, according to Ancestry, I'm about 1/4 Scottish. That makes sense to me. Clan Morrison through the Gilmores. And that's on Dad's side. On Mom's side, there's some Scots too, but I don't know what clan they were. One of Mom's uncles, when he was very old and dying, went back to speaking Gaelic. Oh, he wrote All the Pretty Horses. I have heard of that book. I don't think I've read it. Uh, Oswald says the biblical Jerusalem was in Scotland. I don't know. I can tell you that although we know, at least in general, where the ark landed, we don't know where Noah was when he built the boat. Odds are he was not in the Ararat Mountains of Turkey. You see, boats don't hold still, they move around with or without sails or oars. So Oswald says Edinburgh is the biblical Jerusalem. No, I don't see many movies, Don. I used to be able to count the ones I'd seen in the theater on one hand, but now I need both hands. But not all 10 fingers and thumbs. Oswald. I don't even get it. It's a joke, but I don't get it. Don gets it. He's laughing. Oh, I got it. Okay, how did the Scotsman escape the COVID lockdowns? He went camping in the nearby Loch Dunes. Now I get it. Yeah, I got it, Don. Tora, get off my chair. Thank you. All right, okay. You don't deserve treats, but you're going to get some because you might leave me alone for 5 minutes. There, here you go. Silly cat. You're supposed to eat your cat food. Cats do not live by treats alone. Well, I got it finally. I had to think. Loch Dunes? Oh. It makes more sense when you say it aloud. Oh, Oswald invented the joke. Okay. Well, anyway, the powers that be want to keep us all divided so that we don't all get together because there's, about 300 million of us here in the United States, and they're just a handful of assholes. So they try to keep us divided by stupid things that don't matter. I don't care who sleeps with you as long as you're both consenting adult humans. I don't care what color your skin is, the texture of your hair, what political party you identify with. But just don't try to make me remember all these pronouns. I can't, my memory isn't that good. I should call everybody they. They is actually the correct term for someone whose gender you don't know. Gnostic fruit cakes? Yeah, divide and conquer and depopulate. Oh, yeah. Well, there's rumors, or I don't know, probably disinformation that COVID was a biological warfare. Well, if it was, it didn't do a very good job. I don't know where it came from, but it was a nasty virus. It was scary, but it just created so much tension and friction. Why aren't you wearing a mask? Or on the other side, why are you wearing a mask? And stuff like that. And people died. Real people really died. But frankly, I think the government's job is to inform us and let us make our own decisions and not just pass down a one size fits all solution. The real control over bad behavior usually comes from the community or the family, not from some bureaucrat sitting at a desk in Washington, D.C., who has no idea what your life is like. Oh, Darth Schwab. Yeah, or why am I blank? Oh, Darth Soros. Well, Don, I've had COVID twice, but I just had a runny nose. Well, the first time I was feeling under the weather and had a runny nose. The second time I had a runny nose, but I had to isolate because I was testing positive. I haven't had the flu since 1969, but they keep pressuring me to get a flu shot, and I'm like, why? I don't get the flu. And when I had it in 1969, once again, I had a runny nose. I am the fortunate descendant of survivors. And I know my history and my family history as far as health goes. Well, if someone else feels a little safer because I stuck a mask on my face when I went to buy groceries, okay, I'll accommodate that person. But when some bureaucrat thousands of miles away orders me to wear a mask, I don't like that. Yeah, well, I'm not anti-vax, but I am anti unnecessary medical procedures. I try to find the actual peer-reviewed literature, at least the abstracts, When the paper's behind a paywall, I just can't afford it. Don't use Wikipedia for medical advice. And don't just believe every rumor you hear. But there are always upsides and downsides to anything in the realm of medicine, and you need to be informed and make a good decision for yourself. Ooh, Don had pneumonia as a kid twice. Really bad fevered dreams like a Pink Floyd song. RFK Jr., if he gets the nomination, he could win. If he runs it as an independent, he could take away a lot of Democrat votes and even a lot of Republican votes. He could be what you call a spoiler. I don't know. Ooh, it's after 11. Wasn't paying attention to the time. I kind of like him, except he's a little too gung-ho on getting rid of fossil fuels. I mean, we need to find alternatives, but we're not there yet. We need to take it slowly and quit buying solar panels and electric batteries from China. Don, that was JFK Jr. who died in a plane crash. John Kennedy's son. RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, is Bobby Kennedy's son. I know it can be confusing. I do like RFK Jr. His voice is all messed up from some kind of jab that he had a bad reaction to. And that might work against him, but maybe not. Oh, we want a minister of truthiness, Joseph P. Farrell. Well, sadly, I often disagree with Dr. Farrell's conclusions. Although his research is impeccable, sometimes his conclusions just don't seem right to me. I've got itchies. Happens every time I whack weeds. I don't know that much about RFK's past, Oswald, but I wouldn't doubt it. John Kennedy, the president, you could call him a drug addict, but they were prescription drugs. The man was in constant pain from, I forget what condition he had, but his back was a mess. Well, I'm okay with grass, Don. These things called foxtails, though, they're a different story altogether. They're worse than ragweed. They look like wheat, but they are not wheat. They are nasty weeds. And they're not to be eaten. If you tried to, grind their grains into flour, that stuff, you'd have a reaction that could kill you. Stinging nettle, Don says. Yeah, I know what stinging nettle is. Ever since the day I saw a pretty flower growing by the side of the road and decided to pick it. And yet, stinging nettle is edible. You just have to boil it to take away the sting. I've never tried it, though. You have to wear really good gloves if you want to pick it. Or take your clippers and snip it and then pick it up with a cloth or something. Yeah, they say nettle tea is good for joint pain. And I guess if you were starving and there was nothing else to eat, you could boil the stinging nettle and eat it. It's supposed to be very nutritious. Ah. Man, we're living in a Philip K. Dick world. I'm not sure which one. In fact, I'm not. I think we change worlds every 10 minutes. Oh, hi, Sandra. I'm near the end and winding down. Ah, Don was watching The Lord of the Rings, the first movie, before he switched to watching my podcast. Yep. People on Facebook have asked, why don't you have your own Stater brothers? And the answer is because we have Goodwins. Yes, their roof collapsed in Snowmageddon, but they're rebuilding. And in the meantime, they have these pop-up sales on our main street, Lake Drive. And I got some fresh produce there. I got the weirdest looking peaches. Let me grab one and show you. Okay. The top of the peach looks normal. I gotta remember to point it at the camera, not the screen, but look, it's all squished. It's like a donut. It isn't round. But they tell me they're delicious and it's almost ready to eat. Compact peaches. Yeah. Right, Don. Oh, my water's empty. Okay, let me refill my water. Water. Look out, Tora. Look out. Okay. Uh, anyway, they're doing what they can, and our local convenience stores are carrying more groceries to fill in the gap. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Uh, uh, it's the 5th of July now in Pennsylvania. We had our parade and fireworks on Saturday. Tora, quit it. So, Sandra in British Columbia got to see American fireworks and Mount Baker from downtown Victoria. Okay. Tora, you're a pest. All right. Say hi to your adoring fans. You ain't getting off that easy. Boy, she's really earning her treats tonight. Come on, hop down. Good girl. I think she knows what that means. There, here you go. Cat hair. So we all need to chill out, settle down, get along, help each other. That's what we did in Snowmageddon. It wasn't the FEMA. I never saw them. I did see some nice firefighters who brought me cat food. But it was mostly just neighbors helping neighbors. Don Burnham has an almost 20-year-old cat named Snippy who is just still like a young cat, same as always. Well, my cubby made it to 20 years that we know of. Not sure how old he was when we got him. He was the best. Every cat I've ever had was the best. But Cubby really was. When Smokey had kittens, because she went and got them before I was able to get her spayed, she was pregnant when she came to me. Cubby became Uncle Cubby to the kitties. They'd jump all over him and attack him, and he'd just kind of smile and keep walking. Oswald is talking to Sandra. I'll ignore it. I had a peach tree. Something killed it. I also had an apricot tree. Something killed it at about the same time. I think the gophers ate their roots. So my grapevine is in a pot where the gophers can't get to it. I hope the grapevine is doing okay. It did survive Snowmageddon, being buried under 6 feet of snow, but I don't know. Just hope it does well. Don says, I heard it through the grapevine. Yeah. Well, half of this mountain is owned by Mormons and the other half is owned by Scientologists. Scientology has I don't know what to call it here, a property that's totally fenced. They say that the fence is electrified, but I don't know about that. I do know that you can't get in, and rumor has it you can't get out either. Oh, Oswald wants to know. He's heard about the berry bandits, but what about the peach pirates? Well, there haven't been any peaches for them to steal. But when that tree was producing fruit, it'd be maybe half a dozen peaches, but that's all I need. There's only one of me, and they were so good. Yeah, there's um, yeah. This town is more integrated than you can imagine. Not just black, white, and Mexican, but immigrants from all over the world. Eastern Europe, Asia, South America, even England. And Sweden, and all kinds of political views and religions. Sometimes it seems like there's a church on every block. There's Baptists, Presbyterians, Catholics, Episcopalian, Lutheran, non denominational, you name it. Oh, Sandra came across a circle of witches in the woods. And when she walked by, they all turned and looked. ... It was spooky. Dawn suggested to throw some water on them. I'm melting! Good old Dorothy. And the Wizard of Oz. They were holding a baby. Probably an initiation. Kind of like baptism or christening. Yeah, I love Somewhere Over the Rainbow. But some of the more recent people who have recorded that song have ruined it. They couldn't just leave it the arrangement the way it was when Judy Garland sang it. They have to reinterpret it. Why? It's so beautiful the way Judy Garland sang it. Sandra went back through the woods later and the witches were holding a photo session. Uh-huh. That's what you do, I guess, at a baptism or a christening. You take pictures. Yeah, real witches, not the silly teenage Wiccans down here. Instagram Wiccans? Apparently, Instagram is yesterday's news now. It's all TikTok. I found the TikTok app on my phone pre installed. It came with it. I deleted it. I was going through and deleting all the apps that I never use, and that was one of them. Ah, cat hair. Icky. So, anyway, we got to pull together, all of us, and quit fighting about things that don't matter. The way people have pulled together to boycott Target and Bud Light. The problem with those boycotts is that the people who are really getting hurt are the working class people who are just doing their jobs. The corporate CEOs and presidents and so forth, even if they get fired, they get a golden parachute, and they've already made millions. They don't need more money. At least one bottling plant has had to close because Bud Light doesn't need bottles for beer it can't sell. 400 people jobless. And of course, the breweries are having to quit making Bud Light. There's more employees losing their jobs. The distributors, it isn't their fault. They just deliver the beer to the store. They're hurting. Yeah, Ella Fitzgerald's Over the Rainbow was very good, Don. You're right there. Yeah, Budweiser full flavor is tastes like water. So I can't imagine Bud Light being a thing to begin with. I guess they think they can drink more of it and not get drunk. Oh, if I drank beer, I'd get drunk on half a beer. Hi, Angus. Ah, you guys keep coming in. I've already been on for 2 hours. I've been told, and I think it's true, that Budweiser is made from rice instead of wheat or other grains. Shalom, Angus. I drank Coors once. It was the only thing I could find to drink on a hot day at the drag strip. Couldn't even find water. It did not stay down. Yeah, Angus says, yes, Budweiser is rice and corn syrup derived. Oh, that's interesting. And Angus says, Japanese rice beers like Sapporo are good. And Asahi, etc. Oh, I'm fading. There's a local craft brewery not far from my house, but I don't dare drink beer. It comes right back up, and that is, I don't enjoy that. They put high fructose corn syrup in Pabst Blue Ribbon. Oh, and Angus says Kirin, another beer, is not good. Don says, I've never had rice beer, I've had sake. Ah, I gotta wake up and stay awake a little longer. Yeah, so let's learn to pull together to be kind and helpful and not sweat the little things. Like when people were snowed in through, it was about 4 or 5 weeks at the end of February and most of March. I mean, we were in serious trouble, especially since the county did not prepare. They claimed it was a surprise. What, the weather forecast was right? All the forecasters were saying heavy snow. But the county supervisors were surprised that we got a lot of snow. I remember years when, yeah, we had 2 or 3 feet of snow, maybe even 4 feet, but the county was prepared and it wasn't that big a deal. They actually had skip loaders and dump trucks to move the snow and usually dump it in a lake, sometimes dump it in a park down the hill so that people who don't ordinarily get to play in the snow could play in it. Not this time. Well, we all knew that we were due for a major snowstorm, and these forecasts, they couldn't tell us exactly when until the storm clouds were coming off the coast. But they knew it was going to be a big one, and it was. It isn't like, oh, predicting it's going to rain tomorrow. No, it was like this winter, even Farmer's Almanac, which is usually spot on, said, more snow than you've seen in 50 years. It almost broke the 50-year record. Do you know that this time of year, in June, usually all the snow that's going to melt has melted Not yet. We still have snow in our mountains that's going to eventually melt and fill the rivers and streams and lakes some more. Oh, Jeremiah Johnson, yeah. He went through these mountains, by the way. Yeah, the Robert Redford movie. Yeah, it was good. Sad, but good. See, the San Bernardino Mountains are a side branch of the Sierra Nevada. And a lot of Hollywood movies like High Sierra were filmed here. So they really were in the Sierras when they filmed High Sierra, because they were here. Yeah, we've had a couple of suspicious fires recently. One of them was today. One was on Saturday, right after the parade. The fire department guys who had been in the parade had to just hightail it to the fire. And they are of suspicious origin. Either illegal fireworks or just plain arson. Dawn has had smoke from Canada twice in the past month and a half. Yeah, in the northern parts of the United States, the sky is pretty smoky. Yes, Don, hazy days, crazy hazy days of summer. Canada got hit very hard. Oh. Yeah, that's one of the saddest things about wildfires is the wildlife. And our firefighters have been on it mostly with aircraft because there's some steep and rough terrain around here. Cute, Oswald. The Canadians are dumping their wildfire smoke on this trash heap of a country. Well, we can't just sit around complaining about how awful it is. Let's roll up our sleeves and do the work of fixing it. And if you can, if you live in a big city, Chicago, Detroit, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, get the hell out if you can. And if you can't, find a way to do it anyway. It isn't healthy to live in a big city. It spawns crime and poverty and disease and mental illness. We were not meant to live in concrete boxes or boxes made of glass and steel. You know, it's okay to spend a week in a hotel room on vacation if you can afford it. But to live there, it's poison to the human spirit. We have poor people here, we have homeless people here. We don't have a lot of crime. And in fact, we help each other. We even help people we don't particularly like because it's what we do. We don't hang out with them, but we help them. Well, I don't know. We have about 10,000 people here, Angus, not 200, but we're spread out. We actually have yards with gardens. It isn't practical to have a lawn on the mountain, but a few rich idiots have lawns. And they have to pay someone to tend their lawns and their gardens. My garden is really kind of wild. And the rose bushes just went nuts. They apparently loved being buried in snow for a month. Oh, Don says there was some place in Alaska that had no crime, no television. They got TVs, and within the first year there was a bunch of crime. No, I haven't seen fairies, Oswald, but yesterday I saw a tiger swallowtail. That's a pretty butterfly. Of course, they lay their eggs and then their caterpillars start eating, but it was on the blackberry vine and the blackberry can handle it. I don't know. I learned more watching TV than I ever did in school when I was growing up. Of course, I think even though it was sheer entertainment, the TV shows were more educational than the classroom. Oh, sure, I learned math and English in school, but I learned about life from the TV. I used to watch Get Smart, uh, A Family Affair. My little sister called that Buffy and Jody. It's Brian Keith plays an architect, bachelor, who ends up with his niece and nephew because their parents died. Really, really cute show. Laugh In. Oh, and sometimes I would skip school because I wanted to watch Jeopardy. And, oh, what's the one that's like tic tac toe? I think they called it tic tac dough. Uh, they were on in the daytime back then. Jeopardy now, of course, is on at night. I wouldn't have had to skip school to see it. What else did I watch? Uh, don't remember. I wasn't allowed to stay up late to watch The Tonight Show, except on certain holidays. And I remember before Johnny Carson, I think it was Steve Allen was the host. Oh, Angus likes The Price is Right. Hollywood Squares, that's it. They had the greatest comedians on Hollywood Squares. Yeah, that was right, Oswald. That was before the mind-numbing advertisements and Bernaysian programming of modern TV. Yeah, my objection to YouTube ads is not that they're running ads; it's that they're so annoying. And there's a lot of scams and snake oil. Um, and it really ticks me off when I'm trying to relax, so I'm not right at the computer while the YouTube video's going. And some ad comes on that runs for an hour, and I'm watching a 5-minute video. Ah, Angus met Steve Allen. Very bright, but very pretentious. Yeah, that sounds like it. Oh, Paul Lynde. He was on Hollywood Squares. And Charlie Weaver. He dressed in a Swiss costume. He had done an ad for a wine. And the line I remember is that little old winemaker me. Oh, and what's his name? He played the landlord on, oh dear, the Ghost and Mrs. Muir. Is my age showing? Let's see. Google is my friend. Um, Hope Lang played Mrs. Muir. I'll have to open the website to get the full cast. Yeah. Charles Nelson Riley. He was so funny. My sister put me on her family plan with Netflix, but I haven't found anything I want to watch lately. Well, I think it was Netflix that for a while had Doctor Who, the new incarnation. I don't have TV at all, Angus, but all the stations have websites. I just don't think to go to them. Yeah, but I like free stuff. Even Amazon Prime has very little that interests me. Okay, I'll stay on, but I gotta recycle some coffee. So I'll be right back. Oh, Lord. Ah, crikey. Hello, I'm back, I think. Oh, Oswald's gonna roll a few American Spirit cigarettes. I've got my little machine working, but I don't have decent tobacco. So, because I can't roll to save my life, I got the machine where you turn the crank. So for the moment, I'm kind of stuck with Camel filters. Whoops. I'm glad I always say that my videos are not for children. I wouldn't want to encourage anyone to start smoking or drinking. Oh, I love Dunhills, but they cost quite a lot here in the States, Angus. I don't care for the parliaments. I used to smoke Shermans, but well, you can't just go to the store and buy them. You have to order them and wait for them to arrive. I'm considering starting another channel, just call it something like Learning is Fun, and go through some basic things that the schools just aren't getting through to the students, the children. Um, when I was a child, every morning at the start of the day from kindergarten, I'm not sure about kindergarten, but from first grade through sixth up to age 11, at the start of every day, we would pledge allegiance to the flag, and sometimes we'd even sing a patriotic song. We all knew the words. We didn't do the national anthem because it was too difficult for children. But in the 90s, I was a substitute teacher, and they didn't even have a flag in the classroom. Boy, things have changed. I learned the national anthem because my brother was in Little League baseball, and all the spectators would sing the national anthem. And of course, the last words of the national anthem were, "Play ball." Oh, Angus got to go to a Montessori school. My little sister went there, and for a short time, my son went to a Montessori school. Yeah, Oswald, there was a shortage of substitute teachers when I was doing it. I didn't ever do the credential, the teaching credential where you do an unpaid internship for 9 months. I couldn't afford to work for free. I was barely making a living and scratching it out. But they had an emergency certification because they were so short on substitutes. My mother drove the school bus for the Montessori school, and that's how my little sister got to go there. Well, I went to public school mostly, but for 6th grade, I was in a Baptist school. Now, there are many different kinds of Baptists, and this particular one was, I want to say, inbred. For example, in Bible study, I got an A on every test, but I got a C for my final grade because I wasn't baptized. Mom would not allow it. And I was in the school choir and the Sunday school choir. I did go to Sunday school because of my only friend went to Sunday school and she liked taking me with her because she got brownie points for bringing a friend. So I was in the school choir, the Sunday school choir, and I gave up half my lunch hour for music appreciation, and I got a C in music because I wasn't one of the in crowd. And when it was time to pick someone to do the solo, the daughter of one of the deacons what's the word? Well, she wanted to be the soloist, and we had another girl who was a much better singer, but Christine Doney, Dr. Doney's daughter, Deacon Doney's daughter, got to be the soloist, and she sucked. And the rest of us had to sing backup. We were so embarrassed. And the song was "Oh Holy Night." It isn't the easiest song to sing, but it isn't that hard. And she was just horrible. And then 7th and 8th grades, I went to public school again. When I was ready for 9th grade and all ready to transfer to Loera High School, I had an automatic transfer because I was in the orchestra, and they were famous for their orchestra. Mom decided to put me in this little parochial school. It was a nice school. I made a good friend there. I made friends one at a time. But they didn't have a music program. And when our teacher tried to put together just a small choir to sing a simple Christmas song at the Christmas show, the other students just weren't into it. So my friend Cheryl and I had to do Silent Night. without a microphone in a big hall. It was the church. Just the two people. It wasn't good. And as usual, for the Christmas play, I had to be the narrator because I was the only one who could remember that many lines. That's getting mean, Oswald. Not all Catholic schools are that bad. I have a friend named Pete who went to Catholic school, and he said they were really nice to him. Go figure. Most of my students at Chapman were in the military. I taught at March Air Force Base. And occasionally at Norton and sometimes the Marine Base in 29 Palms. On the Orange campus, I helped to grade the exit essays. No one could graduate without being able to write an essay. Angus says his father went to Catholic school, but after Vietnam, he converted to Judaism. Yeah, I think you mentioned this before, Angus, about Chapman's MFA program. No, teaching. My military students were the best. Their promotions depended on doing well in school. And they were smart people to begin with. Some of them smarter than I am. I'm pretty damn smart. They were hardworking and dedicated and really, really did well. One of the best jobs I had was writing press releases for Chapman College. I wish I could have stayed in that job, but it was only part-time. Yeah, Oswald, a lot of Seventh-day Adventists do convert to Judaism. One of the churches I visited a number of times was Messianic Jews. They believe in Christ, but they still keep kosher and follow the law. I hate kosher food. I can't stand it. Yeah, Angus got A's for his brother by writing papers for him, or helping him write papers. They seem to have forgotten the original intention of kosher food, which was to be kind to your animals. Even though you have to kill them and eat them, you don't have to torture them while they're alive. Yes, Angus told his brother, if I have to write your papers for you, then you are not cut out for college. And he eventually dropped out. Kosher food, well, for example, I had a chicken sandwich, chicken salad sandwich. Well, they can't put mayonnaise on that sandwich because you can't eat the chicken and the egg together. And I don't think it ever occurred to them that they could use sour cream. It was the driest chicken salad I ever ate. And they couldn't ever eat Italian food. Well, not the ones with white sauces, because you can't eat beef with any dairy product on it. In other words, you don't cook the calf in the cow's milk. They take it down to the last details. And of course, kosher beef is rather bland because of the way they slaughter the animals for kosher meat. Yeah, the methods of slaughter were supposed to be kinder than what they were doing, but the way they do it now, it can be actually very cruel, and that was not the purpose of the law. What we have is not the law the way it was given, but the way it's been interpreted over thousands of years. Oh, wow. Angus says his mom was raised on a kibbutz, and the only reason the food was kosher was because they rarely ever had meat. They were too poor. And what I don't get is why my egg salad sandwich didn't have mayonnaise on it. Why can't you have eggs with eggs? Mayonnaise is made with eggs. As far as meat goes, I think I'm switching to fish. I like fish anyway. Yeah. Yeah, kosher and the Muslim halal are very, very similar and in some cases identical. I like cod and halibut, and of course they're the most expensive. And halibut is hard to find because they've had to limit halibut fishing. Uh, the population of halibut was getting too sparse. They weren't quite endangered, but they had to limit the halibut fishing to keep the species in existence. The thing about halibut is it is not fishy. It has a nice smooth texture. It's hard to describe, but it's really good. Oh, I've never had shark. I might have had it once as an adult, but Mom used to serve cod and tell us it was shark steak because Dad would not eat cod. But if he didn't know it was cod, it was fine. You see, his mother made him take a spoonful of cod liver oil every day, and it kind of put him off of cod, just the association. But you know, cod liver oil's darn good for you, and now you can get it in capsules. Bacon wrapped prawns with potato flakes and applesauce and sour cream. For Hanukkah? You eat bacon for Hanukkah, huh? Okay. Oh, potato latkes sound so good. Yeah, with sour cream. Making me hungry, guys. Coho salmon. Oh, knishes. Well, getting close to 3 hours now. 2 hours and 50 minutes. What were Phil's favorite foods? He loved chicken livers. I do too, by the way. Um, One time I made trout in aspic and he loved it, but that's when I discovered that I don't really like trout. I don't like the freshwater fish. I like the sea fish. Gizzards, yeah. You can get fried gizzards at KFC. Um, I'm not sure that I want to eat deep fat fried food because um, all that heat does bad things to the oil that they use. And then the oil can do bad things to your tummy. But I just might make an exception to get deep fried gizzards. Gizzards are hard to chew, but I've been told that when they're breaded and deep fat fried, they're more tender. No, Phil never ate spotted dick. Um, That's just it isn't a bad thing. It's a pudding. Oh, Angus says if you have lemon, it cuts the oil, helps you digest it. Interesting. Well, I take the bottle of real lemon juice, and just drink it straight. Love lemon. I'll cut lemon wedges and eat them, especially Meyer lemons. Oh, yeah, KFC makes great biscuits. Never tried their mashed potatoes. They're made from instant mash, but they're really good, huh? That's what Don says. No, Phil did not speak Yiddish. At one time had some good friends who were Jewish, a married couple. And he tried to learn about Jewish culture from them. They kept kosher and so forth. He didn't speak very good German. He had a neighbor who was a German immigrant, and he tried to read Faust in German, but his copy it was just part one of Faust, had the German on one page and then the English on the facing page. But no, when I studied German in college because I wanted to understand him when he started speaking in German, I learned that Phil didn't really know German. But he did like to show off the little that he did know. Well, my pack of cigarettes is empty, so I won't smoke because it's too much trouble to open a new pack this late at night. So anyway, we're off into food again. I think I got a cleaner that just might clean up my stovetop to make it presentable for a cooking video. If I can just find a way to stabilize the phone and use it as the camera, the cell phone, I can make some simple cooking videos if I can get the stovetop presentable. Oh, Angus finds the science fiction community to be very enlightened and kind. For the most part, yes. A lot of anti Semites in his fan base, ironically. Yeah, Phil was, as I said before, very, very liberal. A flaming liberal. There were individuals he didn't like, but not because they were Jewish or Catholic or gay or whatever, but because they were assholes. Don had a beans and potato salad for dinner and like 10 beers. You certainly will fall asleep. 10 beers? I couldn't drink that much. It'd be coming back out the top, even if it was that much water. Yeah, they do have blood drives at the conventions. Yeah, Phil's work was anti fascist, and yet he would get accused of being fascist because of the man in the high castle. And it was anti fascist. Oh, Don, you must have one hell of a big stomach to hold that much liquid. Yeah. Well, people in my community are not necessarily science fiction fans, but they're mostly good people. Even some who are petty criminals can actually be kind and helpful when they're not picking your pocket. But I'll tell you, shoplifters don't get away with it around here. We know, we know where they live. Yes, Phil wrote about the little people as heroes, not the public figures, but the ordinary people just trying to get by. Um, we have a lot of those around here. Ordinary people. Oh, and one time, 20 years ago, or maybe a little more than that, we had a bank robbery. This kid, under 18, went into the bank with a gun and demanded money. So they gave him the money, and when he left, they called his mother. How stupid is that? You go into the bank where your mother has an account and they know who you are. They also called the police, but first they called his mother. I'm not touching that, Angus, about Niven. I have a problem with Heinlein's pull yourself up by your bootstraps philosophy. It's kind of hard to do that when you don't have any boots. Oh well. A lot of his work is really good. The one of his minor novels really touched me. It's called The Door into Summer, and I don't remember what the book was about, but it had this cat who would go to the door in the winter, and the guy would open the door and the cat would see the snow and not go out, and then the cat would go to a different door hoping that that one led into the summer. I found that really touching. I should read it again. Well, the weirdest one was in Clans of the Alphane Moon. in which the inmates have taken over the asylum. So you have the paranoids and the schizophrenics and one of the categories of the mentally ill is hebephrenics. But Phil shortened these names for the clowns, and he called them Hebes for hebephrenic, which is a schizophrenic who's gone really bad. Well, a student at Cal State asked him why he didn't like Jews, because obviously Hebes would be Hebrews. No, he had to explain to her that they were hebephrenics, deteriorated schizophrenics. Oh, the simulacra. I get many of his books and stories confused because they overlap so much. But man, he could tell a good story. When I'm reading his work, I want to edit it on the level of the sentence, which I did in A Scanner Darkly, by the way. But man, did he ever tell a good story. Yeah, well, actually, the original criminy Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger did catch his sense of humor, especially with the taxi cab. But it didn't capture his dark vision. And Blade Runner captured his dark vision without his sense of humor. Yes, Total Recall is ridiculous, but that is Phil's sense of humor. That the robot taxi cab won't move until he names his destination. The Johnny Cab, yeah. And even the ending, which is so hokey. I mean, those people were dead the minute that door opened, but they had to show off their special effects. That's something Phil would appreciate. You want to see Humpty Dumpty in Oakland made into a movie? Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be science fiction to be a movie. I've written a screenplay for Ubik, but I'm not allowed to publish it because I've signed an agreement. But I think I could make it work. I changed the plot to where it actually has an ending, but you're still kind of, it's still kind of open ended. And Dr. Blood Money would be very expensive to adapt. Well, Hollywood doesn't legally owe me anything, but morally, perhaps. Oh, the crack in space. Yeah, Phil's title for it was Cantata 140. Terry Carr changed the title when he was an editor at Ace. Because there's a house of prostitution on a satellite, the crack in space. Phil did not appreciate that. Well, Cantata 140 by J.S. Bach is titled Wachet auf, Wake Up, or as they often put it in English, Sleepers Awake. It's biblical, New Testament biblical. Ah, Lord, I don't know how much longer I can stay awake. Cosmic puppets. Like a good Twilight Zone episode. My water's empty again. My coffee's almost empty, and it's been over 3 hours. Time flies when you're having fun, or when you're conversing with good friends. Well, Phil wrote from experience, and on some level, all those way out things are true. Not in the details, but we are being manipulated. Our world is ersatz. It's false in many ways. It's made of plastic. And Phil used to say that reality is the trash in the gutter, because that's the one thing that is real in a world where everything's faux. Like a fur coat that's really made of cotton or wool to look like fur, ersatz, phony. Yeah, Phil hung out with neighbors. A lot of writers hung out with Phil. That doesn't mean Phil was hanging out with them. But he was impressed by, I've forgotten his name again, the one who became a professor at Chapman College. Lived locally enough that he could visit Phil and they could have conversations. He wrote Cyberpunk. Yeah, Phil would always be sure to give a copy of one of his books to regular people who became acquainted with him. But it wasn't so much to show off as to maybe get people to buy more of his books, because he wasn't making much money. Wow. Yeah, he didn't like phonies, people who pretended to be something they were not. He was very down to earth in some ways, even though his head was in the clouds. He kept his feet on the ground. And thought Disneyland was just a bunch of fake crap until a French film crew filmed him at Disneyland and they had a tour, a guided tour. And the tour guide pointed out that the original Disneyland in Anaheim, California, was an actual park. They had habitat for endangered species of birds and even insects. and they were cultivating plants that were becoming too rare. It was an actual park with wildlife and trees and other plants. That impressed him. Yeah, Phil was easy to talk to, especially easy to listen to. He could talk for hours and hours. And he did. But I've found, by the way, and not just with Phil, but with other people, if you start a conversation and then just shut your mouth and let them talk, they come away thinking, boy, that's a very smart person I was just talking to. And I didn't say much at all, I just listened. I guess it is smart to listen. And most people didn't listen to Phil. I met some of his former friends from up in Northern California. We were in Southern California in Orange County, behind the orange curtain. Well, anyway, Phil would start talking and they'd just kind of shine him on. Oh, yeah, right, Phil, you're being weird again. They weren't listening. I listened. And I think, although you can never totally understand another person, I did understand more than most people. Oh, Angus spent 6 years in the OC over a period of 6 months. Well, after the Watts riot, my family picked up and moved from Culver City to Anaheim. I had no choice. I was 11 years old. And I lived there until I had to testify against a gang member in the city of Orange. And it was just too scary to stay there. So I left Orange County, picked up and moved to a different county. And the guy was, his gang was the Ku Klux Klan bikers. He was also a sergeant of arms in the Klan. Lovely person. Last I heard, he was in, not for this particular crime, but for a later crime after he was out on parole. He got life in prison because he had military grade explosives in his garage. I had a nice historic house in Old Town Orange for a short time. It even had an heirloom orange tree, navel oranges, and a cedar tree, a seedless deodara. No, sorry, I always say seedless. It was cedrus, as in cedar. Neither one could be cut down. They were historic trees, and I wouldn't want to cut them down anyway. Well, I've known bikers who wouldn't harm me for anything, but this guy was also a Klansman, and he committed a very serious crime, a home invasion. And I witnessed it. And the DA said if I didn't testify, they'd put me in jail. And probably a bunch of this guy's friends were also in jail. And the guy, well, actually, he had his wife tell me that this guy's friends might do me some harm, and there was nothing she could do to stop them. And the police were not very helpful, and I don't know that they could have done much. Oh, God. Well, Angus, even birdshot can kill if it hits your throat. That's horrible. So anyway, you're coming up on 3 hours and 20 minutes, and it's almost 1 a.m. here. Happy 5th of July. And remember, if you see someone who needs help, don't walk on by. Offer to help. Well, that little show of kindness can change the whole world for at least one person. Almost 4 in Pennsylvania. Sorry, Don. I'm glad you stayed all this time, but yes, the Good Samaritan. And remember, the Samaritans were they were treated like lepers. They were only half Jewish. They had intermarried with a bunch of Gentiles. But Jesus said that the Samaritan was a good person. The Samaritan was the one who did the right thing. This has been awesome, but I really gotta get some sleep, more weeds to whack tomorrow, and more tomato plants to pot. My friends and neighbors expect tomatoes, and last year I got like 3 tomatoes out of 6 tomato vines, and I wasn't the only one. They just weren't growing. Okay, guys, so let's type in the usual sign off. Thank you all for listening, and have a great day, week, month, year, and life. Remember, there's growing old might not be fun, but the alternative is not acceptable. Okay. Good night and sleep well.